Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this episode of G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. We're in the garden again because it's coming up on springtime here. As a matter of fact, one of the markers I use for springtime is daylight savings time, and that happens this coming weekend. Saturday night, set your clocks 1 hour ahead, spring forward, and when you get up on Sunday, there's an hour missing out of your sleep, unless you're smart like me and you change your clocks on Friday, so you got the whole weekend to adapt to the time change before you have to go to work on Monday. Well, I don't really have to go to work on Monday, but I do have work to do here on the homestead. And what we're doing out here, as you probably noticed from the title and description, is planting potatoes today. So I prepped my potato box here, and this is just about 5.5 feet long by 2 feet wide, and it's a good 10.5 inches deep. So it was kind of compacted from last year's growth, and of course the soil lost a lot of nutrients from last year's growth. And what I grew in here last year was radishes and let's see, what was it? It wasn't broccoli. Anyway, it was some greens, and I had to do the soil because this is in a closed box. So I could have dug it all out and replaced it and used this as a base somewhere else. That's a lot of work. So what I do is I mix in the new micronutrients into it and get it all set up so it's ready to grow for another season. Now this is just going to have potatoes in it this year, and the same with that one over there. And I'll show you the difference. You see all the white in there. I'll show you what that is in a minute because that's already been done here. And what I did was, first I turned over all the soil with a pitchfork right there. And don't ever pitch that fork because it could stick in somebody. Anyway, I turned over everything as deep as the pitchfork, which is about as deep as the wood sides of this raised bin garden part. So I got it all the way down to where the wire mesh. As you know, I've got this aviary wire underneath the whole floor here to keep critters from tunneling up from underneath. So anyway, I got this all turned over and just broken up so it wasn't any solids anymore, and I broke up all the large clumps of native soil, and that's what you're looking at here, the lighter tan color. But it's getting regular garden soil mixed into it and other nutrients, so it's getting better by the year. So first thing I did after I did that was I came through and I sprinkled bone meal all over the top of this, and then I sprinkled a little bit of worm castings all over inside of there. And then I brought in my chicken manure that I've been saving all winter, and it's been composting for the winter, and it was nice and wet and soggy, as you can see chunks of it out there. And I poured that in here, and then I had been saving my eggshells, and that's what you see in the white over there. That's all eggshell, and all across all of the garden here, that's all eggshell. And what eggshell does it adds calcium to the soil as in a slow release type fertilizer, as it doesn't release the calcium till it breaks down. So I sprinkled that all over, and of course I got my chicken manure all spread around in here. And then and I did the bone meal and all of that through the whole garden. But I just got this one finished up, ready to plant potatoes, because we're going to talk about planting potatoes today. And I like my potatoes. I like my potatoes any way you can cook them. I like sweet potatoes, I like russet potatoes, I like red potatoes, I like all kinds of potatoes. Speaking of red potatoes, you remember those two I found in the parking lot? Well, I've had those sitting and trying to sprout, and they're not sprouting. So most likely from the supermarket, those were sprayed with an anti-sprout chemical, so they'll never sprout. But they'll compost, so I will compost those. Anyway, I got the all the nutrients mixed into the soil, and how did I mix it? Well, I did it the easy way. You remember these augers, the auger set that I did a review on quite a while back. If you didn't and you're interested in them, there's a bunch of different sizes. This is the biggest one. And if you're interested in them, just leave me a message in the comment below and I'll post a link to them. Okay, so I use this, and I have my drill motor set on 1, which is the slow speed. And then I just dig it in and pull it out. Dig it in and pull it out. And that's how I mix the soil up. Now you don't want to do that on the fast speed, because if you put your drill on high speed, when you do that, it's going to throw this stuff all over the place. It'll be all over your legs, all over everywhere except where it's supposed to be. But that's all there is to it, is just do that all the way through the whole system, and it mixed all of those nutrients, the chicken manure, the eggshell, the bone meal, the worm castings, everything got mixed into the soil by doing that. So it's all ready for planting. So I want to get ready for planting, so I'm going to make my holes to where the potatoes are going to go, because I'm working with holding the camera in my hand here. I don't have my chest strap on like I should have, but we'll get through this. Okay, so let's get this going. So I'm going to put one here. And how deep do you want to go? Well, there's a thing called wrist deep, and that is your hand open like this from your fingertips up to your wrist. So if you look, that's about the same thick distance as the top of the blade from this auger. So that's all I have to do is get down to that point, and I'm okay. So I'm going to put one there. I'll put one here. Now, the soil is nice and loose because I've tilled it already. So I just pull that back with my hand or with my little spade before I drop the potato in. So we'll go back over here with another one. And then come over here. And you notice I'm offsetting them, because potatoes grow underground on a vine, and they'll spread themselves out automatically. And if they bump into another potato in the soil, the strongest one takes precedence and he gets to go first. So we're going to take the last one, not the last one, the second to the last one is going to go right here. And then the last one go here. Now the chicken manure is high nitrogen, and the potatoes having a green plant like nitrogen also. So nitrogen's a good thing for them. So don't worry about too much nitrogen or calcium with your potatoes. Manure, of course, is in itself contains a lot of micronutrients that plants need to grow. So whether it's chicken manure, cow manure, horse manure, any of those manures, they all work fairly well, but not for nitrogen. Oops, excuse me. For nitrogen, chickens have a very high nitrogen content. All right, so we got that ready. here's my potatoes under this bag. And this is how I get them to sprout. I put them in a little plastic container, and I just put a little bit of water in the bottom. And then if you look at the potato, you can see what side the stem was originally on, and that's what I put downward. Okay, so the top of the potato where the stem was, because the stem is the plant that comes up out of the ground. All of these sprouts are the roots that are going to grow new potatoes. Now you can see I cover them with a plastic bag, and I put them in a warm indirect light area, like on top of my refrigerator. So the kitchen lights up during the day from the sunlight coming through the window, but it doesn't get direct sunlight right on the potato. And you want your sprouts to be a good green or a red color, depending on the potato you're doing, because if they're pure white and they're long, they're very brittle and they break very easily. And you're going to have a lot of failure that way. All right, so let's move on. So I got my knife here, because you could just plant the whole potato as is, but you really don't have to. A couple of buds per piece of potato is plenty. So we're going to take this one off right about here. And then take this one off. Let's see, how many holes did I make? 3, 6. Okay, so we're going to do each potato into 3 parts. So we're going to take that one off there. Come on. Hey, if I move the camera out of screen, somebody yell to me and let me know, okay? All right. So now we're going to go here and here. All right. Now, some people like to leave these a day in the dry heat to dry off the cut sides of these. Here's a little trick. You could use potassium, that's right for it, but what I use is dry cement. Okay, and what I'm going to do is move these all off of here for now, and we'll sprinkle some cement into here. I'm going to wet and coat, or not wet, but I'm going to coat the wet sides of each one, just like that. And then I could take it over to a hole and plant it in the hole and get it down there in the bottom, and then cover a hole over. That's all there is to it. All right. Now what this cement does is it prevents mold and rot. So the sprout doesn't mold or rot. All right. Next. Boy, you know what? I'm going to save that one for down the other end. I'm going to get this one coated. See what I did. And we'll get this one in here. All right. Next one goes here. And we'll do that one with this two-sided one. All right. Next, you know, this one actually doesn't have any big noticeable sprouts, but it has a couple of small ones that are starting. So I'll put that one in the last hole here. And we'll take the last piece, which has some good sprouts on it. And when I put it in the hole, Yeah, I heard you. I had it out of frame. All right. All right, thank you. So I'm going to put this one in, but I'm going to point this sprouts towards the center of the garden. All right. That's it. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is get my garden hose and soak this down really well. But I don't need you watching me water the garden. I think you all know how a garden is watered. But I'm going to soak this down really well and then just leave it alone. And it won't be long and we'll see sprouts coming up out of the soil. And this thing will grow some potatoes for me this year. And the time you want to put your potatoes in is mid to late spring. And once it gets really super hot, you'll see all your plants are starting to wilt. Well, it's time to pull the plants off, get rid of the plants as they start to wilt and die and turn colors, turn yellow. Get rid of the plant itself, but leave the potatoes in the soil for about another week. And what that does is it tempers them or seasons them so they're ready to pull out and eat. Now, don't ever eat green potatoes. Green potatoes contain a chemical that will really mess you up. It'll make you sorry that you ever decided to eat that potato. So don't eat green potatoes. And if you got some green in your peels, make sure you peel it down to where you don't see any green at all left on the potato. You're going to lose some of your potato, but you don't have to lose all of it. All right, so that's all done. We'll come down here and I'll show you. This potato has been growing already. So when I come over here with my auger, I'm going to stay away from that area. And I'll just use my spade to turn the chicken manure and eggshell into the soil. And this will be ready to just leave alone and let grow. Now, if I remember right, this might be white potatoes. I think I put white potato in here. I had one just before the winter and I put it in there and it took. So there we go. All right, so I got my eggshell and that other fertilizers and that stuff in here. I didn't put any chicken manure in here because I ran out, but that's okay. I've got plenty in my compost pile, and I'll be bringing my compost pile in and adding it to the top of this whole area. And then I'll do the same thing with the auger and I'll churn this all up and mix it all together. Now, the auger I'm going to use in here is a gas-powered fence post auger, not the little tiny auger. That'll take me forever. So I just go in here and I drop down about a foot deep and pull it out, and that just mixes the soil all together. And I don't have to rev the heck out of the post hole digger because I'm not digging a post hole in hard soil. I'm just churning up this nice soft soil in my garden. All right, everybody, questions and comments down below. You know where they go. Don't forget your thumbs up, and don't forget, share and subscribe. And I'm going to remind you one more time, for the whole year, subscriptions to G-Bear's Off-Grid Ways are 100% free for the whole year. You can click it anytime this year and do it now. Get it over with. Get your free subscription in now. And this is G-Bear signing off.